Welcome to Who the Hell Am I? I hope somebody can tell me. This is a refreshingly authentic and unfiltered podcast, at least I think so, where we really delve into the essence of living authentically and rediscovering the simplicity of nourishment and holistic living. My name is Heather. I am a certified holistic health coach, and I love getting to the root of problems, illnesses, mindsets, you name it, because I believe that the answer lies at the root. If we can follow the problem to the root, we will find the answer there as well. Instead of looking out in all these places around us, looking to the media, to celebrities, to icons, to doctors, to gurus. If we're seeking our answers out there, we're missing the message, we're missing the point. The answer lies in our core, at the root. I invite you to join me on a journey of unraveling, if you will, the complexities of modern health and wellness and mindset, where we liberate ourselves from the clutter of trendy diets, perplexing wellness regimes, and mostly all the societal pressures that dictate our lifestyles. In this podcast, I dare you to challenge the shoulds and the have-tos that have long defined conventional notions of health and identity. First of all, thank you guys for being here today. Welcome to our listeners. I am here for the third episode of Power Couples Spotlight, the series that I'm doing in preparation for our couples retreat on September 29th in St. Augustine, Florida. I have another fabulous power couple. They hold similar roles in business. Welcome to my guests, Jonelle, Gonsalves, and Dee, right? That's what we're going to call you today, is Dee.
Thank you for having us.
Do you guys work together like from home? Like, I'm curious what your dynamic is like all week long when you're doing your thing.
Yes. So we work remotely. We do work together. There's also appointments where we see couples and families together when we talk about money, which is really interesting because we both we have the same goal, but we both have our own individual style that we bring to the table.
And
Okay.
we come from different backgrounds as far as how we got to the place, because I come from a banking industry and Jay comes from a retail industry background. So it's an interesting dynamic. But too, when we work, sometimes we do joint appointments and sometimes we do solo appointments, and I'll be in one room and she'll be in another room and we just like make it happen.
Nice. Okay. So let's give our audience, if you guys don't mind, a little bit of your background. So what your roles are individually. And I love that you also serve couples in this, because you're helping to make, in my opinion, you're helping to make other power couples, successful. So I love that aspect of your relationship. So yeah, a little background on both of you.
Yeah. So my background, right? I'm originally from New York. Long story very short, like my beautiful wife said, I come from the retail background, sports background, knew nothing about money. Everything that I know was really just, self-study, taught, a lot of training to get to where I am now. And really, it's all about just helping people make better decisions with their money. So, they could live their life being financially free, not having any debt, and also reducing the stress in their relationships, right? Whether they're, in a relationship or whether they're just single, just so they can feel better about themselves. Because we know when people don't feel good about their money, they usually don't feel good about themselves. And it snowballs to a lot of other decisions too that go into that.
It's one of the aspects of health and wellness that
100%.
is really, really important. So I love that you addressed that.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Dee?
So I come from the banking industry. I was in the banking industry for 14 years. When I was going to college, I finished my degree late in life. So I was going to college and I found out that I wasn't going to be getting financial aid, didn't want it to get into student debt. So I thought to myself, what can I do as a career that I'm going to be able to project in and grow in? And that's how I got into the banking industry. Years in the banking industry, met Jay and really started to venture out to leave corporate America and start building on my own. Was able to get financial licenses to be able to go out there and help families, women, couples, achieve financial goals, help, with the mindset, because we always say like, you can say you're going to get out of debt, but at the end of the day, if it's not the mindset, it's not the habits that you're changing, it's going to be a cycle. You're going to be back where you started from. So banking leading to Jay and going, independent and, running the business for ourselves and building for our family.
Good for you guys. So I have to ask, with both of you being so financially savvy and bringing that into your relationship, how has being financially aligned as a couple strengthened your relationship?
You know what? I would have to say that when I met Dee, she was a lot more savvy than I was. I mean, we didn't even get married until she was like, okay, no debt. Like, you have to pay off the car, right? So as I'm helping people, I'm making sure I'm saving money. I'm doing little things by little, right? Practicing what I preach. But she was very adamant, like, no, we can't get married and there's debt there. Like, we have to start our marriage on a, debt-free slate, which is what we did. So she's a little bit more savvy to this day. She has a spreadsheet. She's the one. I'll run some things by her. But yeah, I'll let her take that over because she's more savvy.
Okay. Well, it comes back to, growing up and, just seeing not necessarily the mistakes, but the environment that you were brought up in, and you just want to do better. And I just felt like in order to, change the trajectory of my family and, what I want to build, I have to start off doing the right things and don't take that next step until we both feel like, okay, we're ready to take that next step. Because, finances is a leading cause of like divorce and stress and, bad health and things like that. So just, coming together as a union, as one, as a partner, I just felt like we both needed to be on the same mindset. We both needed to be, reaching for those, financial goals that's going to continue so we can create generational wealth and things like that for our family. So,
and it's not always easy either because because we come from two different backgrounds, we have two different completely mindsets. So we'll talk about something that has to do with money and we may be on opposite sides.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is like making sure that we listen to each other and really see where each person is coming from, because we're both right, but we both have a different way about going about it. And we both think our way may be better. So I think it's just a matter of having patience and understanding the other person's point of view and knowing that we're on the same team at the end of the day.
And agree to disagree sometimes.
Yes, that is that too.
So that actually is an interesting point. Are there ever times when you're maybe on different sides does one of you ever have to compromise a little bit? And like, how do you handle that with finances? I wouldn't
The weird thing about it is not with our finances, it's actually helping couples and helping with our clients because I would feel like going about it a certain way. I'm more technical, like she said, and she wants to go about it a different way. And sometimes, like just recently, I had to say, hey, this is my opinion. This is the way I think you should go about it, but it is totally up to you. You got, I have full confidence that you know what you're doing and things like that. You just may have another avenue to get to the same destination. But a lot of times when it comes to, I guess, our finances, she actually lets me take the ring off.
I do. I just let her, because again, I know we're on the same team. I know that we're both making decisions that's in our family's best interest at the end of the day. So I'll let her take the lead on a lot of things, on a lot of the decisions that we make.
Regarding our decisions, but as far as like, the monthly, like, expenses, the savings goals and things like that. We do sit down and talk and, have our goals together. But like I said, you can have a goal, but you can have different ways of actually getting to that goal. And sometimes it's better to hear each other out and see, how we're going to get to that goal a lot faster.
Yeah. And I think when we don't agree, we just need maybe some space. Because I kind of like to just kind of talk about it. She won't say anything, and I know when she's quiet, I'm like, okay, that means something's up, but she's not going to address it now. And hours will pass, and then that's when she wants to address it, and it's all good. So I think it's also knowing your partner, knowing how they handle different conversations, and also giving them space to process it, because we used to talk about different things, and I would always like say something really fast. I'm like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, why aren't you responding faster? But I know it's because she actually needs time to process everything and really,
She's an A personality. That's why.
I'm like, come on, I want the answer now.
But I think that is what I hear is typical couple, just not disagreements, but you're going to both have a individual perspective, right, on anything, including finances. Sometimes it's going to be aligned and sometimes it's going to be a little different, and that's not right or wrong, but it's just one of those ways that as a power couple, you have to navigate it together. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not that you always see eye to eye in finances or in anything, but it's really, how do you navigate that when you are faced with those, decisions to make? And how do you honor the other person's feelings and thoughts and ideas, while also making sure that you don't cross any boundaries of your own, maybe, or, when you're working with other couples around their finances, how do you help them navigate that? Like, if do you ever have situations where maybe a couple is disagreeing, like around their finances, and you're having to kind of mediate?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen that happen. There's also been times where maybe one spouse doesn't know fully the financial picture, which could be a little bit interesting to say the least. Because, they're getting it all out there for the first time. Not everybody even wants to check the mail and look at their finances. People don't even look at their bank accounts. They don't want to know, right? Because they're ashamed. They feel like they should be farther along. There's many feelings that go into that. But I think really what it is just understanding that these couples come from two different places. They have different upbringings about money, right? These individuals, they have different thoughts about money, what they were taught, how they lived their life right before they actually became a unit. So I think it's really about finding out, okay, well, what do you want to accomplish? And let's figure out how to get there. Yeah. And there's going to be some sacrifices on both ends. There's going to be some periods of being uncomfortable to get to where you want to get to. And then it's just a matter of, are you willing to actually take those steps and change some things?
And asking questions. I mean, we've sat down with couples who, one wanted to move forward with the plan and the other one didn't. And, we're usually advocates of the person who is on the right track of making the best decision, because we met with couples, we've seen what happens when, certain things are not put in place and things like that. So we'll try to advocate more for the person who who is on the right track and has the mindset, and try to bring the other person along. But I think it's all about asking questions and allowing them to feel comfortable, and being role models as well, and telling our story, because that really lets them let their guard down as well, and let them know, hey, like, everyone starts somewhere. The first thing you got to do is start, and then then make a plan, and then how you're going to get to that destination.
Yeah, I know from personal experience that starting is the hardest part.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. It's like the gym. Yeah.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. It's like a muscle that you haven't worked out in maybe forever, and doing that for the first time is it's usually pushing you out of your comfort zone, first of all, I think. So it's scary and it doesn't feel real great. And I know for like someone like me who is very free spirited, very go with the flow, there is this resistance to, I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want to feel, restrained in it. And even though you logically know this is going to be really good for you, it's actually going to end up helping you, give you more freedom, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
That's like a mindset shift that, to be honest, I'm still working through that mindset shift. I'm aware of it, but how do you help somebody do that if they want your services, they want your help, they're maybe experiencing that discomfort?
Mhm.
Say to them, how would you help them?
I think one is really finding out what they want and focusing on little steps.
Yeah.
Because the hardest part, like the gym, is thinking about it, right? We go through like this mental torture, like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And that's the hardest part, is like thinking about doing something. But when you actually do it, right, you feel better. So I think it's just taking the first step. That's it. That's going to be, showing them, listen, we're going to make little progress every single day, right? So somebody that wanting to get out of debt, we're not going to tell them, cold turkey, you know what, just cut up the credit cards, because they're going to be like, what the heck? No, I'm not cutting up my credit card. So maybe it's like, okay, well, could you take it out of your wallet?
Yeah.
Could you delete the app off your phone?
Yeah.
Right? So you have to kind of meet them where they are. You just can't throw them, all the way in the deep end, because then it's going to be like a shock to them. And then that's when you're going to get the resistance. So just finding out what is a little step that we could do today just to make some progress, and then just build on that.
So it's like helping somebody. So I'm relating this to my world of health and wellness. Like helping somebody make diet changes or lifestyle routines for the first time. What I call baby step into it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not like, and I'm sure you've seen this. It's like people sometimes they try to incorporate all these new habits and it doesn't work because it's too much at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just about like, okay, well, what could we stop doing? Because sometimes it's not about, let's incorporate all these new things, which is great. But okay, well, what is something that we're doing now that's really harming us financially or in any area of your life? Well, maybe let's just cut that back. Maybe we could just stop that behavior.
And learn that it's a lifestyle. Just like when people say I'm going on a diet. It's like, I hate when people say I'm going on a diet. Diets don't last.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle change, and you start with little changes. And like I said, it's all about the mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset, like I said, you can say you're going to do this, you're going to do that, but if you're not working on your mindset, and that's why it's important to have people, because there's not a lot of people knocking on your door trying to help you get out of debt. For retirement and things like that. That's why it's great to have someone in your corner that can push you, that can keep you on track, just like a life coach, just like, a gym coach and things like that. Those people are very important in your life to have in your circle, because we all are human, and you need that push sometimes to get you past that hurdle or to get you on track or to even keep you on track.
So you're almost like financial coaches in a way.
Yeah. I think we're a little bit of everything.
Yeah. We wear a lot of hats, but we have to sum it up. I would say so. Yeah.
Dee, you mentioned at the beginning about coming from your story where maybe, really healthy financial behaviors weren't modeled for you. I would love to hear from both of you on kind of your backgrounds. Like, what did you observe growing up? And is the way you live now drastically different from what you saw?
That's a good question.
So mine, I'm completely different. I would say I'm the oddball out of my family because I try to keep everybody on track. Growing up, my mom and dad, they worked really, really hard. But at the end of the day, it was three of us, growing up. And you just realize my mom used to open up her wallet and she has like so many credit cards, and you always hear like, okay, you have money, but at the end of the day, you're like, your week is longer than your money. It's not lasting us. I wouldn't say that we, ever were deprived of anything like that. But as far as like savings, retirement, when my dad left his job, he used all his retirement. He has Social Security right now. My mom still works. Little things like that. I just knew that I would always have an abundance of savings. I always knew that retirement was super important. As soon as I got a job, I had the opportunity to have a retirement, which was when I started banking when I was 20 years old. I immediately got a 401k. I immediately started educating myself because growing up, I was always told that money is evil and it's the root to all evil. So it was so crazy that I didn't want to make a lot of money because I was just scared of one day being taken away from me. And I didn't want to feel like basically I didn't want to live above my means, which right now we don't live above our means, but I didn't want to make a lot of money because I knew that, jobs are not secure, especially the economy today, like it could be snatched away from me. And then how would I be able to support myself? But when I met Jay, I kid you not, it wasn't until I met her that I actually read a full book. And then I realized why I was never reading, because I was reading the wrong things. I wasn't reading things to empower me. I didn't know that there was books out there to help you with your mind, to help you process life, help you start thinking different about money and things like that. And I think that when I started reading the right things, I think a light flipped on. Even after all the years in banking, the things that I've learned outside of banking, I didn't learn the 14 years that I was in banking. I have a BA in accounting. A lot of the stuff that I've learned outside of the accounting industry, I learned by reading books, by just improving and things like that. So, I mean, I can tell you like, it's a completely 360 from what I grew up from, who I am today. And I just try to help my family, make better decisions with their money and have them think not just today, think long term, because I think sometimes people are very scared to think long term. They just think for like right now, and that can kind of set you back in the long run because you're not thinking about your 60-year-old self, your 70-year-old self. You're thinking about your 20-year-old self.
Yeah.
So
That was good. Yeah. I think it was a little bit such an interesting question because I'm the youngest of three. So what I remember about my parents and their money is very different from my older siblings and what they've seen and witnessed, because being the youngest, and maybe I was oblivious, but I always felt like I had everything that I needed. I had everything that I wanted. Sometimes you don't realize that your parents are struggling because you don't really see that. You just see that you're getting the things that you need, right? Your needs are fulfilled and all of that. So it wasn't really till I got older when I started having these money conversations, I'm like, oh, so you were like spending. So you really weren't saving. Because I'm just thinking we had like all this money, I never asked for something and it was just never like, oh, well, we can't afford that. It was maybe just, okay, we got to wait till payday. So I always felt like we were always going to have money. That money, was just flowing in.
On trees.
Right. It was on trees. Exactly like the opposite. Right. So I think now in retrospect, being older, what's different is that there is a money consciousness. There is like a need to save money because I know that you can just spend and feel like everything's okay.
Yeah.
But when you pull back the curtain and you have nothing saved and you have to depend on credit cards, that is a very dangerous place to be. And I didn't know that's where at times our family was like using the credit cards and how deep in debt, right? I remember even one time, and thank God my mom and my dad saved me because I was like, oh, I want to go to college. Yeah. And all my friends were going away, like, right, all of them got accepted into the schools. I got accepted into schools all outside of New York because I just knew I was going to go to school in Virginia or something like that. I begged my dad and my mom, like, oh, can we take our student loans, please? Oh, no, we're not doing it. I'm like, oh, my friends are doing it. Why can't we? And now, like all these years later, I'm like, thank God you said no. Yeah. Like I put up the biggest fit and everything. I was a pain in the butt to them, but I didn't see how detrimental that could be, having these student loans, paying it off in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And it's just being like, just something that weighs on you. So, I would say that what's different now is just that money consciousness and knowing that you need to save money. It's not a want, it's a necessity because one day you're going to need that money and it's going to save you if you save enough of it.
Those are two really interesting backgrounds. It's funny because in my years of healing, and I know, Jonelle, we've talked some about my story and all of that, my divorce, and then that led to a lot of years of healing and kind of getting me to where I am now. And the healing continues, right? It's never done. But a big part of the healing that I had to do when I started my business was around money.
Yeah.
And abundance, and being okay, to your point, Dee, that you were saying, the kind of the money story that you had, money is bad. I grew up in a very religious home, very religious environment in general. And what we were taught, whether through our parents, but also through our teachers and just the church in general, was that the less you had, the holier you were, the less you had money-wise, the less you had materialistically, belongings, all of that. It wasn't that those words necessarily were said, but it was definitely that mindset that was instilled.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't realize, I didn't realize until I started working with certain empowerment coaches when I was starting my business, and they started to help bring some of these things to light, and they started talking about your mindset around abundance. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know I had to think about my mindset.
Yeah.
Because consciously I want the money, right? Consciously I want success and all the things, but we're not manifesting from our conscious level, we're manifesting from our subconscious level. So I had to learn a lot about energy and do a lot of digging into my money story. And in doing so, I actually had one day I was journaling, because I journal a lot myself, and then it's one of the tools that I guide my clients through, because I find that you gain so much clarity from it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And so you don't even have to know what you're going to journal about, just start writing. And through that process, a lot of times the answers come, or it leads you to another question that you didn't realize even was a question for you. So it's just a clarification process for me. One of the coaches that I had worked with, who I had done her money mindset course, I had done it once, and then years later, I did it again, actually just this past spring. She reached out, she's like, I'm doing another. And I was like, you know what? It's been a couple of years since I did that. I'm going to redo the same class, because you're going to get something new and different. Right? So I started doing it again. Of course, this time being at a different place in my business, different place in my life in general. And one day I was journaling around some of the journal prompts that she had given us, and it ended up transitioning. I did not plan to tell this story today. It ended up transitioning into a conversation with the energy of money, like money talking to my inner child, that little girl in me who still had hurt, who still had a lot of maybe resentment around some of the ways that I was raised, or things that I felt were withheld from me. And so it ended up being kind of a conversation with the energy of money saying, I am on your side. I am your friend, And for me, looking at what I was writing through the eyes of my inner child, that hurting little girl, it was like, I didn't even realize I had thought, money wasn't for me, or abundance, right? I'm saying money, but really abundance.
Yeah.
So it was uncovering for me that I did have this like very deep rooted belief that abundance was for everyone else, but it wasn't for me.
Oh, yeah.
And so almost like having this conversation with the energy of money, which turned into the energy of love, the energy of so many other things, saying, I've always been there for you. I've always been with you, even when you didn't feel my presence, didn't feel, that you were moving, a lot of things ended up being like a 4-page like letter conversation. By the end of it, I was bawling, because so much was revealed through that was much deeper than abundance. It was like deservingness and worthiness and love, and being allowed to have all of that, in a way, giving myself permission, my healed adult self giving my younger self permission to let that in. So I don't know where that came from. But it's just to tie in what you guys were saying, where, the story that you learned and wrote as a child without knowing it, it stays with you unless you consciously choose to dig into it and change it. And all the stories can be changed, right? We've all changed stories. They all can be, even around money and abundance. Some of the most successful people who I listen to on podcasts or who I follow in life, they didn't come from much, you know, they didn't. And they had to build, they had to change their own story. And I find that so inspiring. So I'm glad that you guys, thank you for sharing.
No. And I appreciate you sharing that because you had the awareness, right? You made the decision to go ahead and do this course again because you could have easily said, oh, I've been there, done that.
I'm good.
I'm not going to learn anything new. So you did that, right? And you did the deep work on yourself because I think all of us have those little hurts and we have this story that we just keep replaying in our mind over and over. It doesn't matter where we are, how much money we have, how much success, quote unquote, we have, this little tape that just keeps playing in your head, right? And that's going to bring you back to the level that you deserve that you're worth, not that you truly are, but what you think you are, right? So I think it's great that you did the work. It's such a powerful thing that you decided to do that.
And I think it's important to talk about it, you know, in settings like this, have conversations about about the work, especially in relation to money, because I think that money is a taboo topic for a lot of people. It certainly was for me, you know, growing up. You didn't talk about money because money was evil, or, you know, so I think it's important to open that door and start having the conversations openly and showing people who maybe have that same belief around us talking about it, that no, you got to go there. You got to talk about those things.
Yeah. And I think what you said was so key because it's growing up, those habits that you observe from your loved ones and taking that personal responsibility, right? Even though we all may have heard from a family member, something that, you know, was shown about money, our beliefs about money, the seed that was planted, but knowing that, you know, our parents and our loved ones did the best they could with the information that they had. But if we really dive deeper, our parents also have those hurts, our cousins, our family members that were maybe never addressed. So what they presented to us was the best that they could do, right? So now it's our responsibility to actually do the work and change for, you know, for our loved ones, right? So it keeps on going. But again, we have to choose to do the work and give grace to those that maybe didn't show us the best example. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, it doesn't matter what happened. They were doing the best they could with the information they had at the time, right?
Yes. And so to not use that as, I think there's two ways we can often take this. You're presenting the way that we all should take, right?
Yeah.
But that is what you're describing as a conscious choice. You have to consciously realize they were doing the best at their level of consciousness. So now I get to do the best at mine and get to always broaden that. I think it's really easy to fall into a place of victim mode when it comes to looking at our stories and our backgrounds, and maybe we've struggled in certain ways that we feel like everyone else just has it easier.
Right.
And you can fall very quickly into that trap of letting that victim stance hold you back, and that can become your excuse. Well, I can't do that. I can't make a different decision because this is always the way it's been. It's always been like this, so that's just the way it is. I lived that way for many, many years. And getting to the flip side of that, where it is, that's been my story before, but it doesn't have to be my story moving forward. And with that, learning to have grace, like you were talking about, for your loved ones who, again, were doing the best that they knew and the best with all the knowledge that they had. And you can hold space for them. You can give them grace while at the same time changing your own story. It doesn't have to be, I'm changing my story because I don't want to be like you. It doesn't have to. You know, you get to do both. You get to, and you get to then heal that generational, you know, for generations. I believe that when we are doing our own healing, and changing our own story around certain things, we are also healing what you said. Your loved ones have those wounds because they were passed down those wounds, right? So you get to heal not just for you, you get to heal for your children, and you get to heal for the ones prior to you. So that doesn't have to continue to be passed down from generation to generation.
That's right. That's right. And there's so much, I think also looking at the time now, and you talked about this earlier about like growing and reading, about reading. I mean, I don't know if our parents read money books. I mean, whose parents read money books or listened to, I mean, we have so much now that our parents didn't have. So I think it's making that conscious decision, because it's very easy. I've been there too. I don't know if you have, where it's like everybody else deserves all this stuff, but just comes to them. Maybe, you know, not me. Maybe there's something special about them. But it's like through the reading, through the growing, you realize like it is about mindset. Like you said, everything is about mindset. And I know people don't want to hear that because it sounds cliche, or there has to be like a magic pill, right? There's like okay, give me the 24-hour thing so I can wake up tomorrow and I'm rich. But it is like, you have to work on your mind, because it is a muscle. It's the most powerful muscle, right? So we have to work at it every single day.
And that's why we teach our son now. Like, our son has had a checking account, he has savings account, he has a Roth IRA, he has a 529, and we don't just have these things for him. He's included in there. He knows he had a subscription. He doesn't have it now. He had a subscription for gaming because he games. I'm like, okay, you're
gonna pay for it. Yep, you're gonna pay for it.
$19 a month. You can have it. If you feel like it's important enough that you want to spend your money on, you can do it. And he did it. And then guess what? When it was no longer serving him anymore, he said, Mom, is it okay if I cancel it? You know, I'm not getting the value of it. Yeah, go ahead and cancel it. It's your money. When he gets money, he knows that a portion of it is going to go to a savings. A portion of it he can spend, but he's very money conscious, and he's learning. We're trying to do the best that we can to the things that we learn to understand. He's not too young. I don't think kids are ever too young to start learning the value of money, the value of savings and giving and things like that. So we really have, worked hard to make sure that we don't fall short. Not saying that our parents fall short, but we don't fall short on giving him the information, the empowerment that we have, so he can make better decisions, as he grows up and starts working and things like that. So it's definitely something that makes it even more special of learning and being better, because I have the opportunity to instill that into him.
Yeah.
How old is he?
13.
13
going on 21. but through that lesson though, it's taught us that words are so powerful, right? Because I think sometimes he would hear me maybe say things like, this is expensive. So we would go out to the store and he would say, is this expensive, or is this too expensive? I'm like, well, babe, compared to what? Yeah. Right. Or if we tell him, if he won something, we'll say, you know what? Well, instead of saying I don't have the money for that, we'll just say, we didn't really put that in a budget plan this month, because we don't want him to start thinking that things are too expensive, that he can't afford it. No, you can afford it if you budget for it. If you put money aside for it, you can afford anything that you want. So I think it's making sure that particularly me, because he's really good about this, is watching the language I use around him and making sure that he's building that healthy money consciousness, which I think he is.
I have to watch it too, because I'm the type, like, I won't buy myself anything. I'm very frugal, but when it comes to somebody else,
she'll buy everything.
I won't think twice. But when it comes to myself, I will think twice about doing it, and I don't want him to feel that way. Like, if you want something you work hard for, and it's budgeted, go right ahead. But that's one thing too. Like, even though we do what we do and we're in the industry, we still struggle. I mean, that's one thing that I still struggle with. Like, I just feel like, if I have it, I want to save it. I have to consciously say, like, even because we're moving back to California and I used to go get my nails done every 2 weeks. So I had to say, I'm putting money aside so I can go get my nails done. So then I can, that'll make me feel better. Like, okay, you put that aside. You could go do that. Because if I didn't put it aside for that, I wouldn't feel good spending that on myself, or I wouldn't feel good spending that because it wasn't allocated towards, that it was allocated towards savings. Because I always tell her, once money goes in the savings account, you take it out, we're at a deficit.
But this is even, Heather, this is not even earned income. It could be Dee's birthday. It could be Mother's Day, and somebody will gift her money, and she's still like, oh, if I get it, I'm like, oh, I'm saving this. I'm going to Barnes and Noble to the bookstore. Like, for me, it's really easy. But for her, she's like, oh, she got gifted something, and she wanted to buy this Nike workout outfit. And I know she was probably back and forth. It was probably in the cart for like 2 weeks before she pulled the trigger on it, which she did, and she felt great. But it's like, you need to buy yourself something, because you also want to reward yourself. If you work hard, you need to reward yourself. You need to feel like, okay, great, I got something for this, and just feel good about it. There's nothing wrong with spending, especially if you're allocating that. You have your spending plan.
I think it's interesting that it's funny because when we are, whatever field we're in, right? I'm in health and wellness, you're in finances, somebody else is going to be in whatever field they are in. It's interesting to hear everyone own the area that they still struggle with within that field, right? So just because you're an expert in a field doesn't mean that you don't have your own area of struggle. And I love that you go there, because I've had to learn that just with myself. Like, it's okay if you're having your own health and wellness struggles. It doesn't take away from your expertise. If anything, it's adding to it, right?
Absolutely,
helping you feel connected to your clients. You're going to have to work through this on a personal level so that you can then help somebody else through it.
Absolutely.
So hearing you talk about, and two, that your struggle, Dee, is you don't have the issue of overspending. You have the issue of spending it off.
That's so true. Yep, that's true.
It's interesting to hear that is, I hadn't even thought about that being a side of it. I struggle with the other side. I need a little bit more of your
And I think she definitely have gotten better, because before she would not spend like anything on herself. Like very rarely would she. Like I would have to beg her. But
I think that's a scarce mentality that, I need to save every little bit, because you never know. There's going to be a rainy day. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. So it's like, okay, well, I'm eating my retirement. That's what, little things like that. Even when we weren't working at home and we had it, if I didn't bring my lunch, I would starve. I would rather starve than go buy food, because I felt like it was a waste of money. But that's just who I am. I have that, I'm that type of person who wants to just save everything, because you just never know. But I don't think that that's actually like, I need to have like a healthy balance. So like I said, even though we're in the financial field and we help, like you said, we still, have our little areas of opportunity and things like that. And I think that's for sure one of mine, is just to be more free.
Yeah.
Huh. Do you find that there's an area of your life that is opposite? Like, are you like really disciplined financially, but then there's a other side of your life where it's like complete opposite, or are you pretty disciplined across the board?
I'm pretty disciplined in everything.
Yeah, no, I think she is.
Working out, I work out 6 days a week. If I don't go, I don't feel great. Like I feel like I'm a very disciplined person. I can't think of anything that I'm really, like relaxed on.
No, if anything, she needs to relax. Like if there was like a free day, like let's say we have nothing to do, like it's quote unquote our day off, I could easily take a nap, watch Netflix. She has to always be doing something, like working, like something work related. It's her. Like, so I think the biggest thing was learning how to take a chill pill.
Yeah. I think the only way that happens if I actually remove myself from like a work environment, the office, and actually be out. Because if not, I just feel like every second that I'm not doing something to better myself, that I'm taking one step back.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me. Like I'm not being productive and things like that. So yeah, but she helps me too, because, she does have that, she can relax. And sometimes that helps me be able to.
But then I see that from her because I'm like, well, maybe I'm a little bit too relaxed. I need to work more because I've never met anybody that's like more focused, more consistent. Like she will go to the gym every single day. I'll go to the gym every single day, then I'll fall off. I won't go for 2 months. Then I go every single day again. But she goes like rain, sleet, snow, it doesn't matter. She's the most consistent person I've ever met. Like, and you know, the character and just the nicest person I've ever met too. I mean, she will literally take a shirt off her back to give it to somebody else, you know, without even asking a question. So, yeah.
Aww. So cute. So how do you guys balance your professional roles in finance, planning with maintaining a strong personal relationship? How do you find balance in that?
You know what? I think that is something that we are working on
Personal,
currently.
I think is good, but fun, I think we lack.
Yeah. So we lack the fun area. And I think, I think one is, and I think it's a combination of things. One is we both hate to waste money. So like, and you've seen also when I throw the women's groups, what do? I always do pizza or tacos because it's super inexpensive. And I really dislike spending money on something and not feeling like I got my money's worth and feeling like I could have just cooked this at home. So I think it's just getting more creative on what's the fun that we can create. We don't always have to go out to a restaurant and spend money. You know, we could create different experiences. So I think that's what we have to balance now is working is fine. Our relationship is fine, but it's like, okay, what is the fun that we can bring into?
But we like to do free stuff.
Yeah.
We like to hike.
Yeah.
We like to do the free stuff. But
it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of other people don't. So a lot of other people don't like to do free stuff. So a lot of times it is just me and Jay because, you know, a lot of people, couples and things like that, like to go out and spend and they're big eaters. We're vegan too. So, well,
sometimes.
She's sometimes. But, you know, we eat different foods and things like that. So I think it's all about finding our community as well and making dedicated time to actually step away because we are workaholics, unfortunately. But we do try. We went out last week for a few hours and got a drink and explored somewhere new. I think it's just being conscious about, okay, we have to spend time with ourselves. We've been together for 10 years now. And it feels like we've been together for months. Like, I feel like we haven't even reached the pinnacle of our relationship and we want to travel and things like that. So I think it's just all about making time, setting time aside for us. And when we move back to California, we'll have babysitting now. So that's hard.
What challenges have you guys faced as a couple that kind of pushed you outside of your professional comfort zones, right? Because I think that for a lot of us, and speaking for myself included here, our work is so much of what we do every day. It's where we feel comfortable. You know, we get in our routines, we have our roles that we play. And sometimes we get so comfortable there that we forget to kind of push ourselves outside of that comfort zone, maybe in our personal lives, and not always be in that professional role. And have you guys faced any challenges with like separating professional from personal and making sure that you are expanding your comfort zone and finding experiences that help you grow as a couple?
I think the biggest thing is really just finding time to have fun because I don't think we really separate our business from our relationship because it like all intertwines. Like we could have healthy conversations about money. We could be talking about something else. So everything intertwined is not like separate.
Yeah, because we sit down at the end of the end of the year and do goals for next year. Like we're always like every single year we sit down and we do goals together and we do goals apart. So I feel like that allows at least allows me to stay in my individual self. And one thing I said the week that has happened is we realized that we cannot depend on either one of us to make ourselves happy. That has been
that was like, the big one, especially in the beginning. especially in the beginning, I'm so happy for you because she's so patient, because I remember in the beginning of our relationship, I would get so mad. I'm like, why aren't you doing this, this, and that to like make, the movies, they paint this facade of the relationship. That's what we think love really is, right? The honeymoon phase. So I watch a movie, I get all these ideas in my head, and I'm like, well, why don't you do anything that's in the movies in my mind, right? And then I read The Mastery of Love by, I think it's Don Miguel Ruiz, or I think it's his son that wrote it. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, holy crap. You're responsible for your own happiness, not anybody else. Because I always thought and I'm so glad I found this out when I met Dee, right? Not when I was with anybody else. But I just finding out that you're responsible for your happiness, not your partner, because I think that was going to be probably such a detrimental mindset if I still had it, thinking that Dee is going to be the one to make me happy. And if she doesn't make me happy, then this isn't going to work possibly. And that was like the biggest realization, was like, holy crap, okay, I'm responsible for my happiness, you're responsible for yours, and now we can just come together, right, and move in the same direction. But I think that was like a major turning point.
Because I was like that before we met. I always felt like I had to be in a relationship, like this person, like if I didn't have them, I would die. I don't know how I would, be able to live. And it wasn't until right before I met Jay where I started gardening. Wine. I've developed a love for wines and just things that really, really do make me happy. And I realized it was a turning point. Like, hey, like you don't have, no one else doesn't have to make you happy. Like you can actually do things to make you happy. And in that time, knowing that those are the, you can, find things that make you happy, you develop new interests. I never gardened before that, going into I always worked out, but I never like had a goal. Like when I'm going to the gym, yoga, like little things like that. I didn't discover those things until I just knew, like at the end of the day, like I have to make myself happy, and I have to learn what things are going to continue to make me happy.
Yeah.
Of course we can complement each other, but it's hard when your partner is depending on you to make them happy. And I think that was one of the big things that we experienced, that we're always like learning, sometimes you fall back into that, like wanting that person to give you something that, you need to know how to give that to yourself.
Yeah. And in the beginning when we met and she told me she was like that, and then I seen how she's changed. I'm like, well, why don't I get that one? Like, I want that one, the one that was like, yeah, you needed somebody, because I love all of that. But then I realized, like, okay, no, we need to, Jonelle, you're responsible for your own happiness. That was a different version. She's grown, right? So, but yeah, that was my mindset. Had it gone, it was like, well, where's that? Where's that Denise? Where's she coming back? Where's that Dee?
That's awesome. That's so funny. I think that's an aspect though that I think probably more couples, or a member of a couple, at least one, will struggle with that mindset. And I think the reason it's so common is because we aren't necessarily taught growing up to have connection with ourselves. We're taught how to make friends. We're taught how to socialize. We're always in social settings that we're told to, we go play with other kids. You're not really taught to connect with yourself and, build on your own skills or your own, desires, even that they matter. So I think that's, again, one of those things we got to talk about. We got to normalize the conversation around, building connection with self and what that looks like and how to have it and how to, nurture it, so that you can then show up in a relationship, in a partnership, with that same level of nurturing for the other person, because you already feel fulfilled. So when we're coming to a relationship with, I need you to fulfill me, I need you to complete me, then it's going to be a draining aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
Draining quality, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think once you can sit with, and we had this conversation before about just being comfortable with being by yourself, right? Even when you're in a relationship, like you still have to have a time where you're like by yourself, you're enjoying your own company. And I think a lot of times people struggle with that because they really don't enjoy their company. They don't really like the person they are. They don't want to see themselves in the mirror, truly. Because like you said, if you're at the point where you always need your partner, you can't do anything by yourself. You always want your partner to be there. You're wanting everything from her, from your partner, and you're not fulfilling it for yourself. That's a really dangerous place to be and really draining, for your partner.
Yeah. And that's going to lead to, discord. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Commitment too.
Yeah. I think you would end up having resentment for the other person. Well, I think you guys have an amazing energy together. You can tell that you've done the work individually. You continue to do the work individually and together. And that is what I believe, according to my definition of a power couple, that is what makes a power couple, is just that continued dedication to growth and supporting each other, supporting each other's dreams and wanting your partner to live their fullest life and them supporting you to live your fullest life too. What would be some final words for couples who are listening? Or maybe some people are listening to this wanting to learn how to get in a relationship that is dynamic and powerful together, right? What are some final words you would have for them from a financial standpoint? Some things to focus on, or how do they get started?
I think going back to the first thing you mentioned, I think my biggest final word for somebody that maybe is not in a relationship is really just focus on yourself. Mm-hmm. Focus on growing in different areas of your life. Maybe it's you just want to be the best family member you could be, the best friend you could be, the best employee, because I know for a fact, if I didn't do as much growing as I did prior to meeting Dee, I don't know if we really would have been together, because I had to really mature in a lot of ways. So I think that's the biggest one. And if you're in a relationship, my biggest final word is to just shut up, right? And I mean this in the most sincere way, because I just read this book, which I have to get it for you. But this author, Trevor Mawad, he said, stop saying stupid things out loud. And because we all have negative thoughts, I'm not going to say, oh, just think positive. No, negative thoughts will happen, but it's when you say it out loud. So just know you and your partner are on the same side. Even when you're joking, like there's some things I would say out loud to Dee joking. And I'm like, let me not say that, because it could plant a seed that she thinks I wasn't joking, right? And it could be something as simple as like, oh, that shirt, I don't really like that shirt. I'm just kidding. But even though that was a joke, right? And it could be bigger, but even though I'm joking, it could plant a seed like, oh, did she really like this shirt? Or when she told me this, was she really kidding? So I think it's just knowing when to just don't say everything that you're thinking. Know that you and your partner are on the same page. Even if you're joking and it could come across as you can hurt somebody's feelings, just don't say it. Journal it or something, but don't say these things out loud, right? I think that would be the biggest thing, because that's what I'm working on now is you don't always have to speak your mind. You don't always need to give your opinion, especially when your partner doesn't ask for it. So I would say that would be my final words.
Ooh, that's good.
I'll go more on the financial route. Not being in a relationship, wanting to be in a relationship, and just wanting to be in a healthy relationship, knowing that money sometimes is the cause of divorce and bad relationships. I think that getting in touch with yourself, learning what's your relationship with money, and getting to a comfortable level where you're on track to reach your financial goals and things like that, or wherever you may be. If you want a healthy relationship and you're seeking a partner, to have conversations and listen and look for clues.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I hate to say it, when you get past that stage where you're blind and you're in love, or love has blinded you, a lot of things you'll overlook. Mm-hmm. So just keep more content in the forefront when you're dating and meeting people. Not saying that has to be like your number one thing, but just, let them know like where you are financially, where you want to go financially, and have those conversations early on. You'll prevent a lot of heartache in the long run, especially if someone's totally not on the same page as you financially. A lot of times that's like the last thing you talk to somebody when you're, starting a relationship and things like that. So I just think like those are the conversations that you need to have upfront, communication, and just be mindful and, keep a watch eye, because you can see a lot of things by people's habits. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah. Heather knows. She's like, oh yeah.
And if you are in a relationship, because, like we, meet with different couples who one might be on the trajectory of they want to get their finances together and everything like that, and maybe not a partner. I just think you lead by example, and pray that they come along, and being able to catch the fever with you and just show the change. Because a lot of times too, no matter if it's negative or positive, if you see your partner consistently doing something and dedicated to it, it's going to lead you towards that way. They're going to have some influence over you. So, just be mindful, have those conversations and have them early on. And I think that it's going to strengthen your future relationships and your current relationships.
Beautiful, wonderful, powerful words. Yeah, I think that you two are a shining example of a dynamic duo, a power couple, and you shared a lot of good insight today that I know the listeners are going to benefit so immensely from. I have your links, your websites, and all of your links to put in the show notes so people can contact you. Is there any contact information or the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can pick up the phone and call or DM us or PMS.
Leave your number.
PMS, sorry, edit that out. You can, I said PMS. You can private message us. I meant to say PM or DM. Not what I just edit that please.
Sometimes it's hard for people to make the phone call too, so they leave their contact information. One of the ones you provide, I think that would be great. Yeah, too, sometimes it is hard for people to make that call.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for making time for this conversation. It's been, I can't believe an hour has gone by already.
Wow. Oh, I didn't even feel like an hour. Oh my gosh.
And we could keep going. So
I know.
We'll have to revisit and do another recording one day.
Yeah, part 2.
Thank you.
You are welcome.